How's it going, everybody? This is number 26. Yes, 26. We have one less tonight. We have Ryan isn't here with us. He's out
No.
celebrating his birthday. But
Happy
yeah,
birthday,
we'll
Ryan's
try to
mom.
happy birthday. But yeah, of course, today with us we have Courtney. What's up, Courtney?
Hold on. I have something to show.
Oh.
And it
what's
has
that?
and wait. I have a trick to show you. Hold on. You can see it.
I like tricks. You should show us.
Yeah, let me just show you. It's the wine in the bottle. It's kind of cold. It may take a second. You notice how it's changing colors?
Oh,
Look at
wow.
that. It changed colors because the wine is chilled because I chill my rosé. So if we've got some stuff going on, you too can have one of these cups. You too.
Yes, and we'll let you know how you can have one of those, but they are available. They are out there, and they can be yours. But we haven't had Brendan with us in a while. So what's up, Brendan? How's it been going?
It's been hectic, man. Like, this election is a lot, but here we are. How are y'all?
I'm drinking.
I'm ready for it to be over. That's all I can say now.
Beyond.
But yeah, we have a.
Oh
yeah. I was going to say we have a relatively light show for tonight, but we still have some pretty important things to cover. So I am the resident of Alabama. Courtney is the resident of Georgia. Brendan is a former resident of Alabama. So as you're turning in that ballot, you're going to see amendments on there, and you're going to want to know what they mean. I mean, they're bloated with, just basically like, legal jargon. They're hard to decipher. So we're going to go over those. So Courtney, do you want to start with Georgia?
Yeah, I'll start. Let me go first because this was kind of, I guess, my idea a little bit, because I actually was voting on my absentee ballot 2 days ago, and I was looking at the amendments. And first of all, I'm not from Georgia. I'm actually from Alabama. I've only been here for 2 years, so I don't know the state well enough to know the background. And then Ron and I were just talking about how we have a problem with the way that every time there's an amendment on a ballot, it's just worded so exclusionary, and it's always like it's hard to decipher. It's like, what does this mean? And if you're like me and like Ron too, and I'm sure you're like this, Brandon, it's like, I don't trust this phrasing. It's probably phrased like this on purpose. So we decided to kind of, for our own respective states, look over the amendments, and because it took me 45 minutes to do the research for mine. Took my whole lunch break. But for mine, let me pull mine up. I had the article for it. So there's technically there's two, and then there's like a referendum. I'm not going to really go over the referendum. It's kind of self-explanatory. But the first one for Georgia is dedication of fees and taxes to intended purposes. So this one, I had to do some research for. Apparently, the background of this, I might be wrong. I'm not from Georgia. I had to do some background research. According to some people that are from here and have been politically involved, is that, and this isn't in the article, I had to actually look up people discussing this. This started from some environmentalists that were lobbying for this. I think it's some kind of waste management fund that had been started in the 90s. And something happened, I think it was 2017, where they actually needed to use it. And then there was no money in it. There were no funds. So the purpose of this ballot is that, of this amendment, is to, if something is supposed to, if fund is started, they have to allocate the money to that fund. No diverting it anywhere else. I'm really weird. I'm kind of weird about giving my personal opinion on that. But as someone that has worked in policy and nonprofit, I was kind of if environmentalists that I fall in favor with were backing it and pushing it, and myself, that is an actual huge problem as a state worker, that a lot of funds that are meant for you, or in a grant or anything, they go somewhere else. So that's what that is for. And that's really vague, but that's what I got from it. And then from the second one, which actually was the most confusing to me, was sovereign immunity. And this, I had to do a lot of digging. So it's pretty much, in the state of Georgia, it's harder for citizens to sue the state, nearly impossible. So I forgot how I saw this worded. This was really hard to it still is kind of hard for me to understand. So even like to the county level, if a resident finds a law possibly going through to be unconstitutional or discriminatory, they can try to sue. I think it makes it easier to try to sue counties. Like if I saw I don't know if this is correct, but I saw someone say, for example, if you get hit by a MARTA bus, before you could only sue the driver, now you could actually sue MARTA as a whole. So that's pretty much what that's about. Like I said, I'm not really going to go over the referendum because it's kind of goofy and it's self-explanatory. So that's what those two are. Again, I had to do so much digging, a lot of digging for these. And even on Ballotopedia, it's hard. And I think Brandon's going to talk a little bit later about how you can better be prepared more than I was. I even had time with my absentee ballot, and I almost got a headache looking at these. So that you're not alone in that. And we suggest if you are voting directly, do some heavy research in this stuff, especially if you're not from the area. But I'll let you get to Alabama, Ron.
Yeah, Alabama's got some bangers, so let's get into those. The first one is a doozy. So, all right,
I read
that. This is sponsored by one of my favorite people in Alabama, and I say that sarcastically, Pro Tem Del Marsh. And this it limits votes to Alabama citizens. So this First Amendment would limit voting to citizens of Alabama. But as you may know, the federal law prohibits anyone other than citizens of the United States, not citizens of Alabama. But federal law prohibits anyone who isn't a citizen of America to vote anyway. So what is this even doing? And Brandon, I'm just going to clear the lane and let you talk about this one.
So this one is a good one. This is a fun one for me. It's annoying AF. But yeah, what you're saying is exactly right. So this law basically, or this proposed amendment is, they are wanting to change the existing language in the Alabama Constitution from which currently says every citizen of the United States can vote in Alabama to, quote, only a citizen of the United States. And to me, that really is just a distinction without a difference, right? Like, in my opinion, the efforts to change. So what, before we even get to my opinion, let me just say that there are efforts to change state constitutions. They are popping up all across the country, right? And they have their reasons for that. I mean, anytime you think your people aren't going to show up to the polls, you want to put some on the ballot to make them show up. So to me, this though is this is just a veiled attempt at voter suppression, disguised as election protection measures. Of course, we know that election, contrary to what the president might say or what Fox News might say or what any Republican senator might say, voter fraud is literally almost non-existent. And when it does happen, it's usually by Republicans. So I think this serves only to cause confusion and intimidate immigrant communities from voting, thereby depressing their turnout and among those groups and increasing the turnout of the anti-immigrant voters, which is quite disgusking.
Can I interrupt a little bit because I saw something on Twitter today.
Go right ahead.
I don't know if you know what I'm talking about because I retweeted it and I had a lot of feelings. Especially if you are not English second language, you have a disability, if you're a minority, especially right now, I feel like people that are Latin are being really targeted this election because I've seen this, and this was in Texas that this happened, where someone who spoke broken English was told that they couldn't find their voter registration, and they were trying to tell the guy. His daughter was the one that was tweeting about it, trying to tell the guy like, no, your voter registration is not showing up. It's not showing up, and he had to pull it up. My suggestion is to have that shit pulled up. Because I know this for Georgia. I'm not sure for other states. You can have it pulled up and ready to go. So just I'm registered, because she was trying to give him a voter registration form even though it was past the registration time. So have that, and also look up your local hotline to report polling locations, because I had an issue. It was like 2016. It was 2016 where they were trying to tell me I couldn't use my college ID. Is the full right? I was like, no, it says it right here. It says it right here. And I was like the only young person in there because it was in Mount Olive, which is where my mom lives. And they were like, ugh. So, and then the same person, I've slightly moved outside the line, slightly outside the bubble. They're like, oh, you got to get the back of the line. I was like, no, give me a new damn ballot now. If you are giving me a new ballot, have that hotline ready to go. And if you find that someone is trying to, you're registered, if they're giving you a hard time, tell them you're going to call the hotline. I don't think a lot of people know that there is that hotline. If there's people doing voter intimidation, because there's a lot of that going on, call the hotline. We have to take that very seriously. Don't let anyone try to, suppress your vote. And it could be poll workers. Don't trust them. Check your registration before you go. Have it ready to go. Have it pulled up. So sorry, I saw that and I had to have that little bit I wanted to mention.
No, that's great.
Yeah. If you're in Alabama, I think it's alabamavotes.org off the top of my head, and you could just type in your name and it has
it's like
everything
your
right there
name
for
and the
you.
last 5 digits of your social.
So let's go on to Amendment 2. As you can see, it's a doozy. It's sponsored by Senator Ward and co-sponsored by Senator Orr, but basically it makes changes to the state's constitution judicial article. Basically, it appoints a director of administrative office of courts. This is in lieu of a chief justice. Judges would no longer be automatically suspended if a complaint is filed against them. I'm going to repeat that one more time. Judges would no longer be automatically suspended if a complaint is filed against them. The Judicial Inquiry Commission expands from 9 to 11. Let's see. And the most important one, which I highlighted here, is legislature would lose power to impeach members of the Alabama Supreme Court, a power of which has never been exercised. So, Brandon, once again, why would they add that language in there, Brandon?
So on the one hand, I think there's some good. This amendment is kind of tricky.
Yeah.
In some ways, there's some good things. I think there are some innocuous things in here that just will make the courts function a little better. And then there's some good things. The only good thing I can see is if there's a complaint filed against you, and that complaint is under investigation, I don't see a problem in allowing the judge to continue serving as long as that complaint has not been verified, right? Like as long as the investigation isn't over and it's been confirmed that the judge committed it. Because if it didn't commit it, all you're doing is just giving them due process under the law, right? Like I don't see a problem with that. The fact that the legislature loses its power to impeach members of the Alabama Supreme Court, like, is mind-boggling to me. Like that anybody would ever want that to be a thing. I get, on the one hand, I get that it could allow undue political influence if but that would require a conspiracy between a bunch of legislatures, right? Because I think it requires a 2/3 majority to impeach a sitting justice. So that would require a huge conspiracy, and it's not, I guess, impossible, but it's highly unlikely that that would happen. So I couldn't see myself voting in favor of this amendment for that reason alone.
Yeah, my take is on this amendment is that it, like you said, there are clearly things in here designed to just make the courts flow better. But then underneath that, it Trojan horses in something that could potentially be dangerous, and that's that last one that I have highlighted in bold. So if it were up to me, this is a no for me. So let's move on to 3, which at 3 I don't have much of a problem with. This is additional changes to the judicial article. Basically, current law requires an appointed judge to stand for election after serving a year in the position, unless they are facing the end of a term. This new law would push that limit to 2 years, unless the appointed judge is facing the end of a term. I think that was in there twice, but yeah, basically, the logic behind this is it incentivizes more people to fill those vacant seats, not knowing that they won't be up for that, after a year they won't have to be up for election again. So it gives them a little leeway, and it incentivizes more people to want to step into the ring. So I don't really have a problem with this one as it stands. Brandon, do you got anything to add to that?
No, I literally don't have anything to say about that one.
Yeah. This one's pretty straightforward. And Amendment 4 is pretty much co-sponsored by most of the Democratic representatives in Alabama state legislature. It removes racist, outdated, and duplicative language from the Alabama Constitution. And if you've ever taken a look at Alabama's Constitution,
like 75% of it.
Yes. A matter of fact, I think it's still illegal to spit on a sidewalk on Sunday in Alabama. So yes,
wait,
there are a lot of things.
Isn't it Alabama is still the longest constitution in the world on the planet? I think still. I know, like back when I was in college, that was the case. That's insane.
It is ridiculous.
So yeah, this basically removes like a lot of the bloated language from that bloated racist language. So once again, this is one you should probably vote in favor of. So yeah, this is sponsored by Representative Coleman, and then also Representatives McCutcheon, Hollis, Rafferty, Bracey, Alexander, and so on and so forth. So yeah, this removes like a lot of language. If this amendment has a majority of yes votes, then it in 2021 or 2022 it officially is up for consideration. So that's all we have to say on that one. But before we start the show, Brandon actually had something pretty good to share, and it is Vote Save America. So you want to talk more about that?
Let's do it. So guys, this is my ballot. As you can see, I've checked all 3 of the boxes. So make sure that when you're filling out your ballot, you're checking all of the boxes. Make sure you have all of every requirement that they're asking you to have, including because I'm voting by mail, I have to include a copy of my identification. I need to insert all of my ballot cards. I need to fill out all of my ballot cards, and I need to sign and date the envelope. Unless I do all of that, they will not be counted. Because I live in Denver and it's super progressive, if I turn this in today, every single time it's touched, I'll get a notification. And when if something is wrong with my ballot, they will tell me right away, so I can do what they call cure it. So I can cure my ballot, and so it'll be counted. But I say that to say, while I was filling out my ballot, I found this site called Vote Save America, where you can literally type in your address, and it will pull up all of the ballot measures and candidates on the ballot for your particular district. Then you can go through, it'll give you tons of information about the candidate, their background, where they stand on the issues, and then you can add whatever your candidate of choice to your quote unquote ballot. Now, this isn't an official ballot, but it allows you to add the candidate to your ballot on the website. It gives you information about ballot measures, including amendments to your state's constitution. And you can add those yes or no to your ballot. And then at the end, it allows you to review your ballot and print or email a copy of your ballot to yourself, so that when you go, you can take this into the voting booth. So you're not having to reread all of that stuff and think, oh man, I forgot how I was going to vote on this one. Well, because you've already done your research on the website, you put your information in on your ballot and you brought it into the voting booth with you, makes it easy. So everybody go do that and make sure you vote today.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
I'll have to say, because every state has different requirements. Georgia doesn't have, I'm surprised not as strict as Colorado's, but read it, because all I had to really do was like sign a date. Make sure, because once you mess up, you have to send it back and void it, and they got to send it to you. And right now in this election, you don't want to mess with that. You don't want to have to deal with that.
Mhm.
So, and if one thing too, if you decide I don't really want to send the absentee, look up ways that you can surrender it, because some people in Georgia were trying to make it way harder than it had to be and tell them they had to. Again, poll workers, don't trust them from their word. They were trying to tell people in Georgia, no, you have to call the office and have them. No, all you have to do is have the ballot and say, I'm voiding it. Here you go. I looked it up. That's all you have to do. And if you already sent it, you do have to call them. But yeah, it's not as hard as people are making it out to be. So definitely read the whole thing. Make sure you're sending it correctly, because I know everyone's with the mail, especially if you're in a flippable state, because my mail is about a week behind now. It's getting very ridiculous about how bad the mail is getting. I'm still getting all of the election mailers though right on time. It's very strange. But but we went to our drop box. So we went to the closest one, which was at a fire station. It was heavily guarded, this little metal box, like 3 cop cars and a camera on one box. It was really good to see. But definitely, because of what's happening, I think in California, check and make sure those drop boxes are legit.
Yeah.
Make sure they're legit. I wouldn't be surprised if people are trying to try that in Georgia. If you're in a state like that, be careful, because we Googled it, we looked it up, because Georgia actually in the end of September added that drop box was like only a couple weeks has it been there. So like check your closest ones. You can go from our own, or you can go any time of day. We went at like 8:30 at night, right after we went and got Marco's pizza. So just there's lots of options to vote. Just in a lot of places are doing early voting that weren't doing early voting before. You have tons of options. So there's not really an excuse to not be able to. This, of course, like if you're facing voter suppression and you have obstacles, but if you're like me and you're worried about working and stuff, you have options now. So I hope you're registered to vote by now, because a lot of states it's past the deadline, but double check and make sure yours. If you haven't, just double check. You may be in good luck, but we're close.
If you move to Colorado and vote, you can register to vote on election day and vote.
So isn't that nice being in a progressive state like that?
Would be so nice. But yeah, I was just gonna say it sounds goofy, but seriously, make sure you have your voting plan. And if you're in Alabama, then you probably can vote this Saturday. Just check your absentee office. They're likely open. You know, courthouses are open on Saturdays. They were open like this past Saturday. They're gonna be open this Saturday. So yeah, just make sure you have your plan and you know what you're gonna do going into that. So.
And then just one more thing. I was going to say.
Oh, go ahead.
If you're in a state like me and Ron, I'm not so sure about Colorado. If you have voter ID laws, check and see what they accept as as an ID. And again, like I said about having your voter registration ready, have the law and the policy ready to pull it right up. You got to advocate for yourself. Be ready and prepared to know what that is, just in case.
No, that's very important, because like Courtney said, she was turned away for having a college ID, and we all know
they tried to turn me away, but I'm a bitch, so you can't turn me away. They tried to turn a white woman away.
they didn't know what they were getting themselves into.
They did. No, you tried.
But yeah, so on to our next topic. A wild Barack Obama appears. Yeah, we used to like this guy looks real familiar.
Old meme.
Yeah, this guy looks real familiar. He looks like someone I used to know. But basically, he reappears in Pennsylvania. He's now stumping on the trail for Joe, and if he's coming out, then this is kind of important. So we'll start with you, Brandon. Do you think Barack, coming out of hiding, basically? I'm saying that jokingly. He has every right to take this extended vacations, by the way. So I'm saying this jokingly. But do you think him showing up in Pennsylvania, do you think it highlights how important Pennsylvania is right now, and B, do you think is effective? Like, do you think listening to him yesterday is going to sway some voters?
Yeah. So to your first question about him showing up in Pennsylvania and the importance of Pennsylvania, I think it cannot be overstated, right? Barack Obama, if Donald Trump won the presidency through the Rust Belt, through Wisconsin, through Michigan, through Pennsylvania, the so-called Blue Wall, right? And right now, Joe Biden is up in all three of those states. And so Donald Trump doesn't win the presidency without them, without like wiping the floor on all of with all of the swing states. So I think Pennsylvania is enormously important in this cycle. But it's always good to see Uncle Barry, right? Like, I love Barack Obama.
Right.
Always good to see him on the campaign trail. I think he's the Democrats' best weapon, besides Michelle Obama, of course, because I think no one gives an argument like she does. His arguments are coherent. He speaks in complete fucking sentences. He doesn't need to belittle others to make himself seem more powerful. So I think him showing up is absolutely going to have some effect. But to be frank, I think this election, most people's opinions about these candidates are already baked in. You're not changing. Mm-hmm. We know who Donald Trump is. We know who Joe Biden is, which is why the Trump campaign is having such a hard time caricaturing Joe Biden, because we know who Joe Biden is. Like, he's been
right.
For 47 years.
You can't butt her emails Joe Biden that easily. And I'll get into it when it's my turn, but I want to mention that it's hilarious.
The one thing that the Biden campaign would do well to do is, I would run this on a reel from now until the election. Barack Obama said this sentence that was really powerful. He said, "This president wants full credit for the economy he inherited and zero blame for the pandemic he ignored." I think it's so, like, in a nutshell, like it just frames everything in the perfect way possible. And I think I would just run that shit on a commercial all throughout the Rust Belt until the election. I'd probably keep it going in a day after the election just for kicks.
So Courtney, Barack has taken some hits for basically being mom on the subject of Trump for the longest period of time. But seeing his statement yesterday, how did that make you feel? Like, what did you think about that?
First of all, I think he has a right to remain silent after what he went through for 8 years. I don't see anyone that has aged as much as he did in 8 years. Like I said, I understand like the duty, but we're talking about on a personal level, having him speak again against someone that had so much race and xenophobia and vitriol turned his way for 8 years. And a lot of the people that were silent about it, they were like, he doesn't owe anyone shit in regards to that. Like, it's helpful, but at the same time, like, especially when people that are like, it makes me cringe, because it's just like, you're not getting it. I agree with Ron. Like, he kind of deserves some kind of vacation in some way. Of course, he wasn't a perfect president, but he went through a lot. So I understand him wanting to remain silent, but I do think it's really nice and strategic that it's kind of like a final hour push, because honestly, that's what a lot of voters need, is just that final hour push. Maybe people that were not questioning about who they were going to vote for, but maybe if they were going to vote in the presidential election. I think that's what this is for, and I do think that is going to give that push. And it is nice to see. I think it's a good reminder to the American people what it's like to have someone that's presidential. I think people are kind of tired of hearing that term, but I think we are so numb to this new normalcy of chaos and reality TV show drama that you shouldn't have to hear about the president in the news every day. Like, I think people forget, like, that's not normal to hear about the president in like the main news every day. It's not. It didn't used to be normal at all. Like, we weren't talking about the president's tweets on a daily basis. Like, that wasn't normal. And one thing I almost want to get on a tangent on is, like, people are like, oh, but Trump did this for the economy. I'm like, Trump inherited the economy from Obama. And it's the same people that's like, I can't believe that Obama did this in the recession. I was like, that was Bush. Like people, if you understand economics and everything and how politics works, it kind of takes a couple years for you to really start to see the effects of a presidency. And even then, honestly, you start to see more of the effects of the second term. I really don't want to see the effects of Trump in a second term. That's when you really start to see things start to take effect. So yeah, and I 100% agree. And I do think that they should be playing that over and over and over. Obama's administration is the one that put the economy where it was. We were in a recession and he put unemployment where it was. That was 100% Obama. That was not Trump in any way, shape, or form. I'm really tired of people saying that. And I think one thing I wanted to mention about the Bidens is that you're right. The American public does know the Bidens, but here's the thing. They don't know Hunter Biden. They don't. He's a nobody, which I'm sure he wants. They're trying to Hillary Clinton Hunter Biden with the emails. But here's the thing, like Hillary Clinton, people have known since the 90s, right? And of course, there's a lot of sexism, and a lot of the way they did that campaign, they didn't do it well. Part of it seemed out of touch, which made her a little more unlikable. It didn't help. But I like Pokemon Go to the polls. Hire more millennials. That's all I want to say is hire more millennials. I'm glad. I think there's more millennials. There's more millennials now. There are. And I'm glad they learned their lesson from that. I really do think they learned their lesson from that. I think they learned how to balance play from memes, but not be cringy about it. I like to see that. But yeah, I think they're playing it quite a bit smarter. I think Biden has this really good way. My mom talked about it this way. She says he talks like he's like a normal person. Right, like there's people that are great orators, but like Joe Biden, I noticed he talks in his speeches like he would talk and I think that's really effective. So I think there's that on his side, but yeah, I think the Trump team can't really play this like they did with Hillary. They just can't, because I think they learned from 2016, which is I was a little bit worried about. But yeah, I think there's massive improvements from just the Democratic Party in general. Some things they still need to improve on, but at least there's no Pokemon Go to the polls. So
at least, yeah.
Don't ever do that again.
But yeah, that's a good segue. Not the Pokemon Go to the polls part, but into
right?
Rat Club.
I got my Pokemon Go ball.
So you mentioned the emails. So apparently someone who is a resident of California dropped off a laptop in New York, and that laptop had emails on it. News outlets everywhere were news outlets everywhere questioned the provenance of this information. They're like, "Nah, where'd you get this from? This sounds stupid." But our director of national intelligence, he was pretty hesitant to totally dismiss the story. Also, yesterday, he then came out and said the emails that were sent out by the Proud Boys allegedly were actually sent out by Iran.
And now, I think they said Russia too.
Yeah, and Russia. I found it interesting that Chuck Schumer said when he was briefed by DNI Ratcliffe.
Let me find the email, because while you're talking, I'm going to actually read the email out loud what it says to give context.
Yeah. So when Chuck Schumer said they were briefed, he said that story is pretty much the same, but no blame was placed on either candidate. And that this wasn't done to push either candidate. So that weird, abrupt press conference yesterday, what are we thinking about that? Brendan, I'll start with you.
About the press conference or about everything?
Yeah, just everything in general, but in particular, like the press conference. Like, do you believe what was said yesterday? Like, is this really Iran?
I haven't had a chance to see the press conference yet. But I mean, Iran and Russia, they want to communicate false information, sow discord, and convince people not to believe the results of the election. Which is curious to me, because that's exactly what the president of the United States is doing. Exact same thing, right? it's a disgrace to every democratic value we hold, really, like that the president of the United States would say that he would not accept the results of an election. This has never, ever happened in the history of the Republic, ever, ever. So that's what I think about that. I mean, we as Americans just need to be vigilant. We need to tone down the rhetoric on, and I won't say on both sides because I don't think it's on both sides. I absolutely believe that Republican rhetoric is much worse. Yeah, Democrats say dumb shit sometimes, but they are not undermining democracy. Republicans, in how they enable Donald Trump and how they talk about this election and their unwillingness to secure this election, to even hold a vote on election security in the Senate, is a disgrace, and they are complicit, and they should be called out for it at every turn.
Mm-hmm.
And Courtney, you say you had something to read?
Yeah, I'm gonna read the email out loud because I if you're on Twitter, I'm sure, because I remember seeing this blow up. So in Florida, and I think some people in California too, were getting emails from the Proud Boys, and almost immediately people were like backsourcing this stuff. I love how smart people are. So the subject line is "Vote for Trump or else," and then there's like a space and an exclamation, so you know it's a boomer who tweeted, who wrote that up, or someone emulating a boomer. It says, and it's the person's name: "We are in possession of all of your information, email, address, telephone, 4 periods," which again, boomer energy. Everything. If there's an ellipses with an extra period, it's not a millennial. It might be, but they're emulating a boomer. "You are currently registered as Democrat, and we know this because we have gained access to your entire voting infrastructure. You will vote for Trump on election day, or we will come after you. Change your party affiliation to Republican to let us know you've received our message, and we'll comply. We will know which candidate you voted for. I would take this seriously if I were you." This is why this is serious. If you were me, I'd be like, this is stupid as shit and hilarious. However, if you're like our grandparents, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Because you have to remember it's the same generation that falls for like the Nigerian prince stuff. But that gets to old people very easily. Like maybe even our parents a little bit. Like we know better, but that's why that's not funny. It's funny a little bit because I'm like, this is such strong boomer energy, but it's not. Yeah, I watched the press conference, and it's, to me, I am a little bit. I do question a little bit about what they say, and it's kind of, to me, my focus is more on. It's insane that I have to question the FBI and the actual administration on whether to trust them or not. And I had that thought. It's like, that's insane that I have to question that information, right? And that's the state that we're at, because that only benefits Trump. And we have it, even in the press conference, we haven't heard them directly outcry, "Oh, that's horrible. No, we shouldn't." But we've never heard Trump like outwardly or even just announce like decrying white supremacy or any of his supporters. He refuses to do so directly. So it's a really sad state of our democracy that this is happening. I hope I don't think anything will be done from that. I think possibly it's someone trying to sow discord, but again, it only ever benefits Trump. So when it only ever benefits Trump, you kind of have to question the sources, especially when that person will not outcry or decry any of that stuff at all. And knowing what we know about the Proud Boys, I think the only thing I can lend to say that maybe if it wasn't them, that there's no grammar errors, there's no spelling errors, it's perfectly typed. I don't know, but it is said that, like the boogeyman of the last election, like it was talked about, but not as apparent was outside sources and being involved. But now it's just so direct that I've said this before, but this country is at a crossroads. Is it fascism and the republic as it is, right? And that's what and I agree with Brandon about the both sides. It's insane, especially if you look like me, to say that you don't see a difference and you don't see a point in voting because there's a lot of privilege. Even if you're in a state where you're like, oh, I'm not, I'm a blue voter in a red state. the local elections still matter, that they matter. Georgia's flippable, which is traditionally a very red state. So it does matter. To me, it's just, and even these amendments we talked about, that kind of stuff matters. It affects people. So again, you're coming from a place of privilege when you're like, I'm not doing it. But I mean, I understand. I understand some people voicing concern. I understand some, but some, I think some people just want to come from a moral high place. But you can't both sides this, and that's what screwed us. Like, I understand Hillary wasn't likable, but again, she was so highly qualified for this position. That's what irritates me, is that the privilege that Donald Trump has. She was it's like she was almost overqualified for the presidency, which is weird to say. Like, she had all of the qualifications. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be entertaining to be president. Right. And that's what one person said, and cut me off if I'm going on a tangent, because I got really irritated when I saw this. Someone was like, I'm so bored by watching Joe Biden. I was just like, oh yeah, you're supposed to be. I mean, I wasn't bored watching Barack Obama again because he was a talented orator, but it's not, policy's not supposed to be entertaining. Debates are not supposed to be entertaining. They were never supposed to be entertaining. They're supposed to be informative. It's not everything has to entertain you. And I think people get from social media, not everything has to be entertaining. And like, it's like brain poison, thinking everything has to have like the entertainment value of a reality TV show. Like that's our new normal. And I think people need to realize that our new normal is that we're thinking, I'm bored by this debate. You're supposed back. I don't know how many people remember, but Pepperidge Farm remembers. Debates were entertaining. Debates were boring, and your parents had to force you to watch them because they were boring. No, it shouldn't be entertaining. We shouldn't have to be like having drinking games and live tweeting these debates. It should just be like, it's policy, and people should actually be watching them because they're trying to decide. But now it's just like, I want to be entertained, and it's dangerous. It shouldn't be like that in any republic, any country. It should never be an entertainment value. And it honestly disgusts me that people are like, I'm bored. I wish Joe Biden would be more entertaining. No, because he's normal. Donald Trump is not normal. He's a reality TV star. He's not even a businessman. He's a reality TV star. And that's our new normal. It's like Back to the Future too. Like the fake future, like that's where we're at. Is where everything is like Las Vegas and casinos and reality TV. And I think we have to take a step back and realize, like, how are things before? Because I think when people say we have to pick between two sides, people's rights are at stake. Marriage equality is at stake. Reproductive rights are at stake. Like, it's not just like, every day will be the same. It's not. I think this pandemic would have been much better handled under Hillary Clinton, who was so, like, again, people didn't like her because she was called an unrelatable. Again, I don't care as much if it's I like if a politician's relatable, but if they're more competent, Donald Trump's not relatable, so that's not even a conversation, honestly. But she's so much more competent. She has so much experience in this. Do you think that we would have been in the same place in the pandemic? I think a lot less people would be dead. I don't like comparing it to Ebola or swine flu because those didn't have the same, like, talking about microbiology. It didn't have the same infection rates. It wasn't the same virus. So they are kind of comparable on, I guess, on a political scale, but not on a biological scale. This is kind of unprecedented unless you go back to the Spanish flu, and that was 100 years ago. So you can't really compare it to then. But I think it would have been much better handled. I think a lot less people would be dead. I think Americans would have had better access to benefits. Again, I'm not going to get too much into what I do, but I'm a social worker, and every day people are suffering. This didn't go away. People are suffering. People lost their jobs. People can't eat. People can't pay their bills. Like, it hasn't gone away. And we have turtly enough for the Turtle Club over here saying that he doesn't want people to get a stimulus. And people are like, oh, the lesser of two sides. No, we need to get Mitch McConnell out of here. I don't think he's going to get out of here, if I'm being honest, but we need to, like, limit his power as much as possible. We need to get as many Democrats in as possible. And because it's easier to push further and more progressive when you have Democrats than when you have Republicans. At this point, there's no both sides. I'm sorry I went on this whole tangent. I've been holding this in because every day I talk to people that are food insecure, and I get disgusted at people that are like, you have the privilege to think to be unaffected when there's people that are starving, like actually starving. They don't have it. And some people still can't have access to benefits because the system is set up against them, even though it's supposed to be a safety net, because Republicans don't care about people. They only care about themselves. And the thing is that they're not against these social benefits. They just want them for themselves. So that, I'm gonna zip it because that was a big rant. But I'm tired. I'm tired of it, and I think people need to take a step back. So sorry.
You said something that I just want to put a plug in for Amy McGrath in Kentucky. If you are watching and you live in Kentucky, go vote for Amy McGrath.
Please.
She is running against the turtle, and if you do not live in Kentucky and you may not vote for Amy McGrath, go donate to her campaign.
Yeah, she's not doing as well polling wise. That's why I said that. Like, and the thing is, people, they feed into the polls. They're like, well, they're not going to do well. They're only not going to do well because, yeah, Hillary did win the popular vote. Abolish the Electoral College. It has never played in the. It happened with Gore. It happened with Hillary. It's going to abolish it anyway. The only time it's because people, a lot of times, yeah, it does feel like you're kind of like, a fish in a giant sea. But if more people were willing to vote, and I get that she's not as exciting to vote for, but would you rather have Mitch McConnell? Like, who is like one of the most evil men evil turtles on the face of this earth? Do you really want that? Like, he's like, basically he literally had a let them eat cake moment with that stimulus check talk. That is literally let them eat cake. He does not care. So are you not pissed off enough? She's like, okay, maybe she's not. But again, you can't play the lesser of two evils because there's one person that doesn't care if people are dying. And you have one person that's like, if you say like as a corporate Democrat, I get that. I do. But they're more easy to sway than someone that is literally just laughing as people die. Like, you can't compare those two. And it's getting more ridiculous that people are doing so. Because I didn't see it as much. Well, of course, again, this is unprecedented with before Trump and Hillary. There's a lot of sexism in that, and people are continuing to play it. But again, you have in Mitch McConnell, if you're in Kentucky, like Mitch McConnell's not just affecting Kentuckians. It's everyone in the United States. We could have had Merrick Garland. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, your votes matter for that. It's not just your state. You're affecting everyone, and you're affecting everyone in the world. Because again, one country that's not following rules of pandemic, people travel. People are Americans are stop going to Mexico. As I'm gonna say, stop going. I don't care if your mental health is down the toilet. You're causing people in a country with like a lower GDP rating than you to get sick, and they don't have as good a health care. Like, American exceptionalism, like, again, people like, oh, I'm so woke, but then you're going to go to Mexico in the middle of a pandemic. Shut up. Don't. You shouldn't be going anywhere. But again, just it's people's privilege. Just you're affecting other people. But again, I'm going to go on another tangent if I don't shut up. Because I'm just tired of people. I really am. Your logic does not work. It's because you're selfish. Anyway, I'm myself for the rest of the night.
So I think we are all fatigued here, but just a closing note once again. Just
I'm just
make
angry.
sure.
I'm not fatigued.
Yeah. Oh, I am going through a variance of emotions. It goes from fatigue to anger to sadness. But anyway, just make sure you have your plan going into like however method you choose to vote. You choose to voting. If you're still going to the polls, make sure you have your plan for that. Have your plan if you're gonna vote absentee in person, just make sure you're prepared. Make sure you know as much as possible. Like Brendan and Courtney said, you do have resources available to you. That's Vote Save America, and then there are also hotlines you could call to report some mishappenings at the
someone
at the
trying
polls.
to keep you from vote. Again,
exactly.
You don't have to listen to them. They're people. They're not like professionals. They're like anyone can be a poll worker. So
yeah, just make sure you have all the tools at your arsenal to do what you need to do, and that's cast your vote and let's get the orange out of here. But yeah, that's all we got for this week. Man, we're getting close. We have one final show before the big show. So yeah, we'll catch you back next week. And that's all we have for today. Goodbye.